All right, buckle up. Fox News alert. The Trump administration sent in additional forces to restore order to Los Angeles as anti-ICE riots enter into the 5th day.
So let's get right to Jonathan Hunt. He's live on the ground in L.A. Hey, Jonathan.
Ainsley, Lawrence, Brian, good morning to all of you. I have to say that 24 hours ago, we joined you from this precise location outside the Metropolitan Detention Center. Very different scene then that it is now. There is a much more relaxed security posture here today. You can see a handful of National Guard outside the detention center behind me. But yesterday at this time, the entire street was blocked off. A phalanx of National Guard troops were right across this street. It is certainly a different atmosphere in LA this morning, and that might be a sign that authorities believe they are getting a grip on these protests. Of course, that is not to say there was not violence yesterday. Thousands of protesters were once again on the streets of downtown LA, but the LAPD operation, along with the Sheriff's Department and the California Highway Patrol, seemed a lot more efficient yesterday. They broke the protesters into various groups. They continually pushed them back using tear gas rounds, using flashbangs, using in some cases rubber bullets. In the meantime, as you mentioned, President Trump has ordered Marines now to come to LA. We understand that 700 Marines left their base at 29 Palms, that is out towards the Palm Springs area, east of LA yesterday. We believe that they staged overnight at Naval Station Seal Beach and that they should be deployed on the streets of LA at some point later today. California Governor Gavin Newsome said of that deployment, quote, "The Secretary of Defense is illegally deploying them onto American streets so Trump can have a talking point at his parade this weekend. It's a blatant abuse of power. We will sue to stop this." Nonetheless, President Trump and others will say that their deployment of the National Guard on Sunday clearly made a difference, that those Sunday clashes were much more violent than they were on Monday, and they will argue that that is because, in part, they are surging forces here. In the meantime, the search to round up some of those involved in the violence goes on. Elpidio Reyna was a 40-year-old man who was seen throwing rocks and bricks at law enforcement officers. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, announced on Hannity last night that they have formally identified him. Here's the Attorney General.
That guy has just been identified, and they are doing a search warrant on his house as we speak. So you can run, you can't hide. We are coming after you federally. If you assault a police officer, if you rob a store, if you loot, if you spit on a police officer, we're coming after you.
Now, as we understand it, Reyna is still a fugitive at this point. He is a wanted man, $50,000 being offered as a reward for information that leads to his arrest. But clearly, a couple of messages from the administration. One, as Pam Bondi was just saying, the Attorney General, they will find anybody involved in violent incidents over the last 4 days here in LA. And two, the bigger message is that whatever force that the Trump administration deems necessary to restore order here in LA will be used. Lawrence, Brian, Ainsley?
So, Jonathan, a quick question for you. The local cops, I'm not seeing many arrests, and I'm seeing illegal activity happening. Now, I've seen some of the feds rushing in and grabbing people and taking them into custody. Do you know from your sources why they aren't arresting some of these individuals?
You haven't seen the arrests in the hundreds, Lawrence, but the LAPD has been arresting people. They've been out with zip ties throughout the day, Sunday and again yesterday. So arrests are being made by everybody involved in this. And I have to say that there were certainly questions, legitimate questions about the response of the LAPD on Friday night. They did seem to me, as I watched it all unfold, to be very slow in moving. But since then, they have been heavily involved in policing the streets, and it appeared to me that all of the agencies, the LAPD, the LASD, California Highway Patrol, the National Guard, and federal officers from Homeland Security, all working very well together yesterday. The operation, I have to say, as it unfolded last night, of splintering these groups, forcing them backwards, making the arrests when necessary, seemed to be a very efficient one yesterday. And certainly arrests were being made, Lawrence.
Jonathan, what about the opposition? We hear it's three predominantly groups: the Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights, supported by the state, the government, and the Chinese government, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and the Service Employees International Union. Have you seen them handing out face shields? Have you seen them handing out rocks and things like that? Some of them were wearing all black. Some organization there?
There's certainly some organization. And let's be frank, in any major protest, there is always a level of organization. There are always groups that get involved in that. And yes, masks are being handed out, water is being handed out. So there is organization on that level, as you would expect. These are groups that we have seen before getting involved in other protests here. You'll recall the LAPD chief, Jim McDonnell, saying on Sunday that while there are people involved in these protests who have the cause of immigration in their heart and soul, they are not the ones, in his view, causing the violence. What Jim McDonnell said is that they are agitators, they are anarchists, as he put it, and he said you could use a lot of other words for them, who come in. They've seen them in the George Floyd protests, they've seen them in the anti-Wall Street protests. The same people keep coming back because, in the view of Jim McDonnell, they just want to cause trouble. That's it.
And they're getting paid. Thanks so much, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, you have Cory Booker and Maxine Waters, Hakeem Jeffries. They're all saying these are peaceful protests. If you watched our network last night, you saw they were not. Yeah. These rioters were throwing frozen water bottles at police. They were waving Mexican flags, burning American flags. They were handing out earplugs and gas masks, throwing Molotov cocktails. They hid baseball bats in the bushes. They lobbed fireworks and sticks at police. And I did see people being arrested. Lawrence, on my drive into work, I was on social media just reading some of the articles. Lots of people were being arrested. There was one lady that punched a cop, and they put her on the ground. They arrested her. And I read that since Friday, there have been 60+ people arrested.
The problem is when they say the peaceful protesters, it's all organized in the sense of you got the people that throw stuff at the cops, and then the people that aren't throwing things, they use themselves as a shield, and they hide themselves behind those people. So you got to break it all up. I just worry about the whole situation. Anyway, we got to move on.
All right, it's 9 minutes after the top of the hour. As rioters attack law enforcement and destroy property, California's Governor Gavin Newsom getting into a heated back and forth with President Trump.
Maddie Rivera joins us with the details from the White House with the growing feud. Good morning.
Good morning, Lawrence, Ainsley, and Brian. California Governor Gavin Newsom is already promising more legal action against the Trump administration, this time over the deployment of those 700 Marines. Remember, he's already suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the National Guard. The president, meantime, has called Newsom incompetent and is responding to the governor's allegation that he wants a civil war.
What do you make of the fact that he says, you want a civil war on the streets of America?
No, that's just the opposite. I don't want a civil war. A civil war would happen if you left it to people like him.
So the president says he does not want a civil war, but the war of words between him and Newsom shows no signs of stopping at this point. Here he is backing Newsom's arrest after the governor dared border czar Tom Homan to do so.
Then the reporter asked me, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can.
Gavin Newsom, he's daring Tom Homan to become an arrester. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent.
Newsom saying on X, the president of the United States just called for the arrest of a sitting governor. This is a day I hoped I would never see in America. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. This is a line we cannot cross as a nation. This is an unmistakable step toward authoritarianism. Also happening today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is appearing on Capitol Hill to testify about the Pentagon's budget. He will likely get questions about other issues like the deployment of those Marines and Signalgate. That hearing is supposed to kick off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time today. Lawrence, Ainsley, and Brian.
Thanks, Maddie. Yeah, they have $1 trillion budget to discuss, but let's talk about Signalgate from 2 months ago. Just real quick, some of the quotes that are coming out of these rioters, quote, "We need to take down this empire once and for all," was heard out there. Also, it's important to point out most of the businesses that have been damaged are Hispanic businesses, and the ones that have been looted, like T-Mobile, as well as Foot Locker, Hispanic businesses. I mean, these were the owners there. So what the hell are you doing? Working class areas, defiling federal buildings, and looting when you can. I mean, just think about this. Who's going to pick up the bill for this?
So you had that great interview with Homan yesterday, Lawrence, and you were asking him about, are y'all going to arrest Gavin Newsom? He said, we haven't even talked about that. You know, the president just was on the lawn, but they asked him yesterday, a reporter said, what crime has Gavin Newsom committed? And he said, I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job.
Well, he's trying to use this as a spearhead to run for president now. Now, remember, just a month ago, he decided he wanted to be a moderate. And he was doing all these podcasts with conservative. Now he's going right back to his roots, switching, turning the page. But someone has to explain this to me. If y'all have declared these unlawful assemblies, why are all these people still on the street?
Well,
why have it there? Why have it there then? Don't implement a law and say, hey, it's an unlawful assembly, and then just allow the people to continue to roam. So, yes, arrest the violent people, but it's unlawful right now.
Tom Homan's point with Mayor Bass and with Governor Gavin Newsom and the president's is if you tip off where two people about ICE raids that's happening with local officials, then you are committing a crime. And I think it's terrible that LAPD is not helping with the ICE raids. They go out and made a speech, had a press conference. I just want to tell you, everybody, we are not reporting you to ICE. We're not cooperating with ICE. I mean, just think about that. How are you in law enforcement and are proud to make that announcement?
A Fox News alert, U.S. Marines being deployed to L.A. as violent anti-ICE protesters show no signs of letting up, setting cars on fire while throwing rocks and fireworks at police. Our next guest says this is what happens when you defund law enforcement. Former L.A. County Sheriff Alex Villanueva joins us. Now, Sheriff, thanks so much for joining the program.
You got it.
So, Sheriff, I've been watching this all play out. They've defunded the police a long time ago. You got a shortage there when it comes to the cops, not only in L.A. County, but also L.A. at large. How's the response been so far?
Well, it's been decidedly underwhelming and late. Had the local law enforcement, be it the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department, LAPD, gone to the aid of the ICE agents when they were under attack initially back on Thursday and Friday, there would have been a very different outcome today in terms of the National Guard. Both agencies are down massively. They don't have the normal mobile field forces they can have readily available to address these issues. So the introduction of the National Guard via the president was actually welcome because now that frees up local law enforcement not to have to surround and guard, for example, the Metropolitan Detention Center. But as you can see, it's too little, too late, and they let the problem get out of hand. And now they're trying to play catch up with this. And this is a lesson they failed to learn from 1992.
So, Sheriff, hopefully you can shine some light on this. We're hearing from reporters, people on the ground that are saying they got control of this. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts from my guys that are there on the ground in L.A., and they tell me they still got violent offenders out there, and they're not being able to arrest as many people. What are your guys telling you?
Exactly the same thing, that it is out of our control in different pockets. And what happened, the worst that we saw on Sunday was absolutely downplayed by the local media, by the politicians. They're all saying, oh, it's largely peaceful. No, it was largely violent. And the concentration of violent activists embedded within people that were just looked like they were trying to peacefully protest was a joke. Because that was you look at the destruction of the CHP cruisers, the shutdown of the 101 freeway. And if you look at the tagging and the broken windows throughout the downtown quarter, it's alarming.
Sheriff, this is what the chief had to say about them doing their job on the ground. Let's watch it.
The introduction of federal military personnel without direct coordination creates logistical challenges and risks confusion during critical incidents. The Los Angeles Police Department, alongside our mutual aid partners, have decades of experience managing large-scale public demonstrations, and we remain confident in our ability to be able to do so professionally and effectively.
Here's the problem, Sheriff. I'm not doubting the experience of our cops on the ground. I know they can do it. The problem is you got politicians that are cuffing them. There's also a resource gap as well. People fighting for territory that they want to have control of it, but then when it comes push time to shove to arrest people, they're not doing it. I mean, what are you seeing?
No, it's exactly that. There's a fight of territory. Local law enforcement, particularly the sheriff who was responsible for coordinating mutual aid among all these agencies, they were paralyzed in fear about coming to the aid of ICE agents who were under attack. And that right there is the genesis of this entire mess. And with that, all of a sudden, you know, paralysis by analysis, let's not do anything and see what happens. All of the chaos unfolded after that. And that was the seed of it right there when they
Sheriff, I can't get over, because we know what it's like. When you have a cop, I don't care if they're federal, state, or local, when they get on the radio and they say, officer assist, we're being surrounded, and the locals don't show up because a chief or whatever politicians say they can't show up, I found that shameful.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. In 2020, when I was the sheriff in that same position, I had 11 riots going on at the same time. I had all of my mutual aid resources locally available. We deployed them as we needed, and then we activated the National Guard and we got them involved. And well, it was very well coordinated and it worked. LA didn't burn down like Seattle and Portland, but here you had the reverse, where the local authorities were held back because of the leadership. And this is Sheriff Luna, Mayor Karen Bass, and the governor himself refusing to commit the resources.
The people in that city don't like it. The people in this country don't like it. Seeing our flags burn, our cops being slammed and rocks at them. Sheriff, thanks so much for joining the program.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.